what I came to realize is that getting parties to say, okay, yeah, all right, fine, we'll go to Portugal, we'll go to Rome, we'll start negotiating. That's one thing. And let's be clear, that's not a small thing. But that's not, you then have the whole lot of work to do to actually get to a treaty. So what did that work look like? And to my surprise, it involved a lot of normal human things. For example, how does a rebel get a visa? How does a rebel get a plane ticket? How does a rebel get a passport? We think of those things as being often quite straightforward, right? You apply for a passport from the government of the country you're a national of. But what if you're fighting that government and cannot accept its legitimacy? That's like the whole point of why you're fighting. Okay, that's obviously a complication already. How are you meant to get from where you're fighting, for example, in southern Mozambique, to where the negotiations have been agreed in Rome? That's a kind of practical issue that needs to be resolved. Similarly, the sorts of clothing that one needs to successfully fight an insurgent war versus successfully negotiate to expand one's political and military rights sitting in the Vatican, one of the most highly decorated spaces in the world, that's not the same type of clothing, quite bluntly. That's not the same kind of like daily life. That's not the same kind of financial needs. And so, in fact, those sorts of things became problems. Some of the delegation coming from the Mozambique rebel group showed up in Rome eventually after the passport visa thing had been resolved and refused to walk, though, into the negotiating room with the government. And one of the reasons for it was they've got a whole bunch of lawyers in fancy suits that have been trained to speak that way, and we haven't. We've been sufficiently militarily successful that they cannot beat us and they're willing to talk to us, but we don't think we're going to get taken seriously or have any of our ideas considered if we walk into the room with them and they laugh at us for wearing practical clothing to fight a war in. So we don't want to go into the room. Honestly, when I heard this, I was like, you know what? I see your point. How many of us feel lacking in confidence, feel unprepared, feel nervous walking into a room when you know you've not got the right clothes?